Hi, Gay here from Simply Savvy Web, and in today's video, which is the second in the top 5 things you need to launch your website, I'm going to be talking about your domain and hosting. Now, there's often quite a lot of confusion around what is the difference between your domain and your website hosting. Okay, so I'll try to simplify what it all means. So your domain is the address of your website. Okay, and you register it with what's called a domain registrar. Now, there's a lot of companies that offer domain registration services. Okay, here are some listed here. I personally use Digital Pacific, which is an Australian company, but you've probably heard of GoDaddy and Crazy Domains and quite a few others. So you can register your domain with any of those. And in the next slide, I'll just give you a few things that you need to look out for. Your website hosting was where your website actually lives. The files that make up your website are actually stored on a server. So that's what hosting is. It gives you it provides the server where your website files are hosted. Now, it can be quite often domain registrars will also offer website hosting, but you don't have to use the same company. Okay, if you can register your domain with one company and you can host with another company. Okay, you don't have to take the hosting when you register your domain. So you can see here in these ones here, these are different hosting providers that you might use. Now, the thing that links the two together is called the domain name system, or DNS. And you might have heard the term DNS server, okay, which are servers located all around the world that host the domain name system, which are records of domains. Okay, so it's like the phone book of the internet, and it translates the domain name into an IP address, because computers can only talk in numbers. So when it looks up your domain in the DNS at the DNS server, so the phone book, it's translating the domain name to an IP address. Okay. Now, when you're buying your domain, there's a few things you need to look out for. Some registrars will offer quite cheap initial registration. Now, and just keep in mind that when you register a domain, you're really just renting that domain for a period of time. So, for instance, for .com domains, it's usually for a year, and .au domains is usually for 2 years, and others are either a year or two. Okay, and you have to renew and pay a renewal fee each time that expires. And if you don't pay the renewal fee, the domain will expire, and that will mean your website will go down and won't be accessible, and your emails, if you have your emails linked to your domain. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. This screenshot here, this is from Digital Pacific, which is the company that I generally use. So these are the things that they include when you register your domain. The main things to look out for, DNS management. I have come across registrars that make it very difficult to manage your DNS records, which is very important to maintain your website and your emails. And the other thing I have noticed with some registrars is that they have inflated renewal fees. Okay, so they might be cheap when you first register your domain, but then when you go to renew in a year or 2 years, it can be highly inflated. Okay, and the other thing I've noted here to watch out for is offers to register your domain in the mail. So I see this quite often when someone starts a business, they register their business name, and then they get letters in the mail offering to register their domain for some inflated price. Just ignore those, throw them in the bin. You shouldn't pay any more than $25 for 2 years for a .au domain and $15 for a .com. Now, this is just a screenshot from when you're registering your domain, so it's really quite simple. You type in the domain that you're wanting to register, click the register button and it will have a look and make sure that that domain's available. If it's available, it will come up here, and it's if you're registering, one thing to note here is if you're registering a .au domain, you do need a valid ABN or ACN to proceed. Okay, you don't need that for .com, but any .au domain you do. If your domain isn't available, it will let you know, and it will give you a list of alternatives that you might want to look at. Okay, then all you do, once you have it, have the domain that you want, just add to cart and go through the process. Now for website hosting, some of the things to look out for. Firstly, the most important thing is an SSL certificate. Now there are a lot of hosts out there that don't include an SSL certificate, so they might look cheap when you're looking at the options. One that comes to mind straight away is GoDaddy. I notice that they don't generally include an SSL certificate, and you need to purchase one separately, which is additional cost. Okay. Allowing full access to the back end, so most website hosting will have something like a cPanel control panel or a Plesk control panel, which allows you access to the back end. And even if you're not comfortable yourself getting into the back end of the hosting server, if you have any issues or just need it looked after, then your web designer will need to get into the back end. So I've come across a number of hosts that make it difficult to get access to do what I need to do in the back end. Okay, location of data centers is another thing. If you're Australian, then and what it really comes down to is where your target market is located. Okay, so if your customers are generally in Australia, then you would want Australian servers, and it makes it quicker, makes your website load quicker. Okay. Another thing to look for is inclusion of subdomains and park domains. So what that means is, with a park domain, you can have additional domains that point back to your main website. Okay, so you might have variations of your domain that you want to point back to one main website, and to do that you need to be able to create park domains. One-click staging is very handy. That's quite common now, commonly available. That means that if you want to do some major work on your website, some major changes, you can create a staging site, which is a copy of your site, make the changes there, and then when you're happy with it, you can push it to live. Okay, so rather than making changes on your actual site while it's live, okay, in case something goes wrong. And the last thing to look at is the support options that they offer. Okay, all of them will offer support in one way or another. Probably the best thing to find out whether a company offers good support or not is to have a look at reviews, to search for reviews for that host. And lastly, just check what the fees will be on renewal. So a lot of hosts will offer quite cheap hosting fees for the first 12 months, and then it's inflated when you go to renew. Okay, and we'll just have a little look here. This is one of the hosts that I use, which is SiteGround, and the different options that they have. So you can see here that the startup plan offers space for one website. It does have park domains though, so that you can, like I said, if you have additional domains that you want to point back to your main website, you can do that. It has the free SSL, it has a data center available in Australia. It has everything that you need, and they do have good support. Then the GrowBig account is if you have more than one website that you want to create and manage, then the GrowBig is a good option for that, because you can have more than one website in there and there's more space. Now just do notice though that they do have a special price when you first join, and that price will apply if you purchase 1 year or 2 years, but when it renews after that initial purchase, it renews at the regular price. Okay, so just keep that in mind, and many hosts do that. Okay, so that's all for domains and hosting. If you have more questions and need any help, you can get in contact with me on my Facebook page, or you can go to my website and contact me through there. Okay, see you in the next video.